Okay, we're going to call our 6 o'clock public hearing to order. Zoning case 2022-01P2. Tire discounters at 7369 and 7381 Kenwood Road. Scholar, you want to give us a little rundown here?
Yes, sir. As you stated, case number 2022-01P2. Our applicant, Leesman Engineering, representing tire discounters, TD Management Limited. They are proposing a demo of their existing tire discounter site as well as the grader's location. Both properties to be raised and for redevelopment of a new tire discounters. This is a colorized overview of the proposed site plan, but I'll get into site specifics here in just a moment. The property is just under 0.9 acres net, 0.892, with frontage of 225.55 feet along Kenwood Road. It is generally flat with a slight slope from the rear of the property to the west to Kenwood Road at its lowest point. Existing ISR is 92.4%, and the proposed ISR would reduce that to 86.1%. Okay. Excuse me. The surrounding conditions, it's actually along the Kenwood Road corridor. The surrounding properties are all E, with the exception of the shopping center behind it, which is planned retail, double E. All of these sites are within the SPI overlay district for the Kenwood Montgomery Road corridor area. Okay. This is just showing current conditions on the site. So all of these plans are actually kind of flipped on their side 90 degrees. So to the right is north. So to the north you have the existing tire discounter site. Immediately to the south you have the former graders, which has been acquired by TD Management. Okay. Immediately south of that is the Tzatziki's, the new Mediterranean grill, and to the north, immediately north of this, you have the entry drive for the shopping center to the west. So back there where Trader Joe's is, and then on the other side of that drive, you have Union Savings Bank. All right. So the new site would require, of course, raising both buildings, as well as removing all existing signage, including the billboard. So this is a complete demo and redevelopment of both sites. The applicant is showing their main building, the actual service center, to the far west of this property, so to the rear. That would require a variance of approximately 17 feet, because this building would be sitting approximately 3 feet from the property line here. All other setbacks are compliant with current zoning standards. Parking analysis, they're required to provide 2 spaces per service bay as well as 1 space per employee, and 1 space per vehicle used in operation of the service. The applicant is providing 33 spaces, and that should be sufficient for their operation. Okay. This is just a quick look at the utility plan showing proposed drainage management with catch basins, and there is sufficient room for a proposed underground detention basin. This also goes into storm calcs. Okay. Applicant did submit a detailed landscaping plan. So if we were to approve this tonight, we would need variance for the setback for the rear yard, which would also require a variance for the boundary buffer on the west side of this property. However, there is extensive landscaping along the north, the streetscape to the east, as well as landscaping to the south, actually in excess of what is required per code. They're also showing some interior landscaping as well, which is compliant with code.
Is there going to be a dumpster somewhere?
There is. I'll get into that.
Okay.
Just it's actually an enclosed structure that's kind of integral to the building itself, right here on the south. So it's this section right here.
Okay.
So I'll show some elevations here in a moment. This is just the streetscape calculation. Okay. This is the basic floor plan. I believe this is a 8-bay, 8-bay layout with customer service area here and material storage, kind of in this L shape along the west side and south side of the property, or I keep saying property, to the building, with the dumpster enclosure. It is out front, but it is a full brick enclosure. Okay. Brief note on this. This is the photometric plan. Typically, we require 0.5 foot candles at the property lines. This is actually a revised photometric plan. The first submittal had some additional issues, so this is an attempt by the applicant to be more consistent with our codes. There is what appears to be, or what may be, a slight increase along the southern property line. The highest points now are here along the 0.7 to 0.1. This is right on the boundary with Tzatziki's.
Tzatziki has lights in the same spot.
They have lights in
Yeah.
the same spot. The spillage would be into their parking lot. I have no concerns with this, but I did note it as a variance requirement.
Okay.
Everywhere else they're compliant. Okay. Just an illustration of how excuse me, how they're directing their lights. Again, no issues with this. Same here from a heat standpoint. Okay. Next item is signage. So the applicant originally proposed to zoning commission 3 building signs, as well as 1 freestanding sign, a monument sign for the site. In preparation for this meeting and based on the comments of the zoning commission, the applicant has reduced their signing request to 2 signs on the building itself, as well as maintaining the same freestanding sign on site. So we'll dive into this a little more. Okay. The wall sign would be, the wall signs, one would be placed on the front of the building facing towards Kenwood Road. The other would be on the north side of the building facing that entry drive to the north of the property. Okay. Each one of these signs would be, there would be 4-foot letters over 32 feet long at approximately 128.6 square feet. So in total, I believe that is 257.34 square feet. Our code only permits 2 signs maximum per building, with a maximum of 150 square feet, and that would be for both. So if this is approved tonight, this would require a variance. Okay, here's the other matching sign on the north side of the building. And this is the proposed freestanding sign. This is actually 50 square feet in total area, where we would, the maximum that we allow is 64 square feet. One item that should be noted on this is the applicant is pushing this up a little further on the site. They're looking at a setback of 5 feet from right of way when we typically require 10 feet. So it would require a variance for that setback encroachment.
How does that compare to the Tziki's sign?
We actually did something very similar with them.
It's
We
about the
allowed
same, I believe.
we allowed for a 5-foot encroachment of that sign setback. So it would certainly be consistent with the character of the area with the new modern signs. And Tzatziki's actually did reduce the size of their sign
Yep.
in order to get that encroachment. So this would be, the size consideration would be consistent.
The changeable copy, is that something that we allow, or does that require a variance also?
So historically, the township has kind of been adverse to LED moving signs. The change copy is, there's no specific prohibition of it in code, and I know it's kind of typical of the character and the, I guess I could say the culture of tire discounters to have that change copy. So I know that was a, if not a requirement, certainly a desirable component of their sign. But our code's silent on it. I wouldn't have any issues with it.
Are we required to approve it in this form, on the other hand, or do we have discretion as to that?
This is a PUD. This is certainly, an item for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. So going to the elevations, this is showing all 4 sides of the building. The top elevation is the front elevation, facing east, facing Kenwood Road. The next one, rear elevation, which would be facing Trader Joe's, but more specifically, it would be facing the docking loading area. So it's not really a public space. Excuse me. Then here on the left-hand side, you have the north elevation, and then the south elevation with the dumpster enclosure bump out. So obviously the dumpster enclosure isn't going to be the full height of the building, but it is going to be integral to the building itself, same building materials. And
I'm assuming it's just an open top.
it would be open top.
It's open, yeah.
Yep. It's oversized, so there would be a dumpster, plus there would be, some used tire storage there.
Okay.
Oops.
And when you say enclosed, and maybe we'll see it in another elevation. Okay, there are
Yeah.
gate doors. Never mind.
Yep.
There are
So
doors.
just to get a
There they
little
are.
closer on it. Obviously, the north face of the enclosure would have to be, gated. So that would be closed during. Whoops. That'd be closed during the day, but would have to be accessible for maintenance. Okay. Same thing with the enclosure, again, consistent with other materials.
What's the material of those doors?
I believe it's a wood gate. We can get clarification from the applicant on that.
Now, with no top on that, if there were refuse piled in there that exceeded the height of the fence, is that something we permit under our code, or is that forbidden?
We would not allow for that, but we manage that with any other business. None of them have any type of roof enclosure typically. I can actually think of one fully enclosed enclosure that we have, and that's up against a residential area, the refrigerated one.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd have to sprinkle it and everything else if you.
So, but no, we typically don't require any type of covering on top. Those are pretty well managed. Okay. All right, and I'm just taking us back to this for general review and discussion. But essentially, I think I've covered the main components of this. Let's see. Just
Skylar, did you have a conversation with, I trust that the people behind the owner of the building directly behind has no issues with the variance on the back, on the rear setback?
I spoke to them very early on when there was talk about future development on this site. They've expressed no concerns during this application process and review. I can tell you that the existing building the tire discounter has is back on the property line as well, and there's been
Okay.
no issues. So
Just
and
want to make sure that there were no issues.
they
And I trust there wouldn't be. I
right
don't know
they
why
they've
would.
expressed no concerns specific to this application. This did receive a generally favorable response from zoning commission. The major the major recommendation was a reduction in the number of signs for wall signage, which the applicant has revised to be in conformance with that. However, should the board recommend approval, tonight, staff recommends the following conditions. Number one, existing lots shall be consolidated prior to zoning compliance plan approval. 2, site shall not be utilized for telecommunication towers in the future. 3, site shall not be used for off-site advertising signs in the future. That is our zoning code speak for billboards. So, 4, a variance shall be granted for building setback as part of this PUD approval. 5, a variance shall be granted for sign setback as part of this PUD approval. 6, a variance shall be granted for outdoor lighting intensity per photometric plan as part of this PUD2 approval. 7, if a variance shall be granted for building signage area as part of this PUD approval, the board shall make a recommendation for maximum area of signage appropriate for approval. And number 8, all other provisions of Chapter 13 signs shall remain in effect.
Skylar, I believe you said for parking, 2 spaces per bay, 1 per employee, and 1 service vehicle. Is that correct?
Only if there's a designated service area or service vehicle on site. So it doesn't say it has to be there.
What do we have? 32, 33?
We have 33.
Okay. So I'm assuming that they don't have more than 10 employees.
Right. So you're looking at 16 plus 10 employees on the site. You're at 26. There's some allowance there.
Okay.
Yep.
Your recommendation for no off-site advertising signs, I know that's our common practice, but I think I shared with you last year, there's some recent case law suggesting that counts as a content-based restriction, which is a First Amendment violation. Do we need to be concerned about that?
So PUD, isn't it?
So, well, it is a PUD. We certainly have that.
You said no off-site signs?
No off-site advertising.
The content of the sign can't be advertising something not on the site itself,
Right,
meaning
right,
the
right.
guy next door.
Yeah.
There is some recent case law as to that. I shared it with our former law director last year, but we didn't do anything further with it to look at it. But there's
Yeah.
case law suggesting in multiple states, possibly in the Sixth Circuit also, that that's a content-based restriction, which is no longer valid. I think there was a case from Tennessee about
Yeah, there was a guy from Florida who was traveling all around the country suing places for that, and they sued Sharonville, and I tried it in federal court and I won.
Oh, good.
But I'm not sure if I know about the case you're talking about. It was just
Yeah.
a year or 2 ago. Because my trial was probably closer to 10 years ago.
Oh.
But I don't see why that would be content-based. It's off-site size.
It's just
right?
off-site, yeah.
Well, the sign is on the site, but it advertises something next
Something
door,
else.
for example, rather than underneath it, and that is the content on the face of the sign. That's the position some of the courts have taken.
Yeah.
Commercial advertising has different
Yeah.
restrictions typically, but even so, that's been the trend. It looks like it's just
That case law would kind of drive a stake in the heart of a lot of local regulations. I mean, it takes away. I would recommend we add the condition if
I would-
if that's overturned, then obviously we're going to defer to the higher authority.
Wait, I don't think anyone's gonna get upset if their changeable signage says "Buy Cooper tires" or "Buy Michelin." I don't think anyone's going to have an issue with that. And I think it's the large billboard advertising that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone,
Which is what
And-
that
and
language
honestly,
is
that-
designed for.
That current billboard or offsite advertising sign, as we refer to it, is it's a non-conforming use. It's actually too close to the Kenwood Road right of way for it to be compliant, and it's really not consistent with their overall plan and goals for this property. So it's coming down as part of this, anyways.
Good.
So, yep.
Unless they want the pylon in the office.
That's right.
General thing
Yeah.
to do.
there goes that service day.
I think that pylon might be like right here in their parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I think as it relates to the other signage, I think it's fine the monument sign
Yep.
variance that you referenced was going to be required, particularly since it's consistent with what we've done for Tzatziki's next door, both as far as setback and square footage. But I do have concerns about the size of the variance they're requesting for their building sign. I think look, the code is there for a reason. I think something that is more consistent, or at least is much closer to what our code currently requires, at 150 square feet per building is something I'd like to see. I think 257 is a pretty big departure from 150.
And we can talk about that with the applicant. They'll have an opportunity to speak. One thing that I did kind of glaze over, and I'd like to just circle back to, one thing that Tracy and I talked about that we're kind of happy about this site is the reduction of access points onto Kenwood Road. If you recall, well,
Graders had a
Yeah.
continuous one.
yeah, Graders has a continuous one.
I think it's great that these guys are going to have access off American Way, which is
Yep.
fantastic. They've got
Yeah, they're utilizing American Way. I mean, Graders had that already, but the fact that the new plan takes that access into consideration. That's why we built it. But yeah, I mean, so the existing tire discounters had 2 points of ingress and egress onto Kenwood Road. Yeah, I would call that nearly continuous through the whole property. So we are happy to see some
It's great.
some reduction there.
Skylar, you may want to change on the conditions, advertising signs to billboards.
Okay.
I
Yes,
think
sir.
that's what most of the cases talk about, the offside billboards, and that's what that Lady Bird Johnson 1964 federal act applies to as well.
Right.
And that
Can-
doesn't sound like it's so content-based, to
Sure.
just say billboards.
Can you make a recommendation where we still incorporate the term offsite advertising? My problem is our zoning code does not mention a billboard once.
Okay.
It uses the term offsite advertising. It's very clearly a billboard in our code.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we need to address that with our zoning code itself. I don't know if we want to say billboard tonight and then fix our code, or
Well, this is just
use
a
both
con-
terms.
This is just a condition.
condition, yeah.
You guys are putting on it, so you can say billboard, I think.
Okay.
It's a PUD.
All right, that works.
I think it's terrific that we're keeping a valued business in Sycamore Township, that
Absolutely.
they've been a valuable business prior to this new building, and we're glad they're staying and expanding and growing.
Yep,
And if
absolutely.
they didn't, we would have no place to get our tires.
All right, are there any other
Any questions
by the
for
board?
Skylar?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? If not, we will hear from the applicant. If the applicant wants to come up to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. And anything we missed or you'd like to add, or we may have a few questions as well, but
Sure. Michael Chandler, I'm the project engineer from Leisman Engineering, 4820 Glenway Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45238, representing tire discounters. I don't have a whole lot to add. Skylar did a great job outlining our project. We've worked closely with him for the last few weeks, putting our proposal together. But as far as some of the concerns and questions about the signage, this is a standard recommendation and proposal for tire discounters. The 4-foot channel letters on 2 sides of the building is their standard request. And it's very important to them that their building is recognizable in the community and for vehicular traffic. The access off of American Way is almost necessary for this site to be accessible due to the median in Kenwood Road. Vehicles either need to, or will miss the site if they're going northbound and will have to make a U-turn to come back to the site, or they need to see the building and make a left and go behind onto American Way to access the site. We do ask that consideration be made for the signage variance due to the fact that we're removing 3 standing pole signs, including the billboard, and reducing our freestanding sign to 1 monument sign. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So the sign to the north, I mean, how visible is that actually?
I believe due to the grade difference at the intersection of Montgomery Road and Kenwood Road, I think it's very visible. As you
With it
drive,
sitting that far back?
I believe, yeah, I believe so. With the access to Trader Joe's right there, and then the location of the building.
Are you going to even see that with the bank in the way?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I drive that
Yeah,
way
I'm fine.
every day.
That building's sitting all the way back on the
Just-
back of that lot. I'm having a hard time believing you're going to see that with the bank stand sitting in the.
You would see it from Montgomery Road before you get to the Verizon store. If you're heading toward Kenwood, you'd see it across the parking lot, I think. But yeah, I think the bank building would likely block it.
I believe that you would. I think there's a significant grade decrease from the intersection of Montgomery Road down to the tire discounters. So if you are far enough away, I think you will see the building sign of the north elevation. If that's something that we need to put together a site study for, we'd be happy to do that.
So you're allowed 128, 128,
150 square feet. total.
150, and you're asking for 257. Is
Yes.
that correct? Is that number correct?
Yes, sir.
So when you come and do that, the next guy comes in and says, look, you gave it to those guys. I mean, that's the dilemma we always have. And I mean, you've been through this. This isn't your first rodeo. You've been down this road a long
I
time.
understand.
You understand how difficult it is for us to give those type of variances because they're very visible variances. That rear yard setback for you isn't really visible. No one's going to know that we gave you extra, put the building closer to the property line.
Right.
But they will definitely see those signs, and that's always an issue we have. And we'd really like to figure out how we come into compliance at 150. Can those letters be smaller?
That's something that Tire Discounters has done in the past, is decrease the size of the letters. They're kind of hurt by the length of their company. A lot of letters in the
I get
name.
it. I get it. A lot of letters.
That's nothing that we can do about that. They have explored smaller letters in the past. I think you get too small of letters on the building, they start to get lost within the entire facade of the building. So I don't know exact size as far as height of the letters that they've done in the past, but they have explored that option.
I mean, I can certainly see the size you have on the front of the building, but it seems to me the one on the side of the building, I don't know that it needs to be the same size. I feel like you could certainly shrink the letters there and get a lot closer to that 150 compliance number, and still, if you feel that sign there is really, really important, which I'm not so sure how visible it really is, but you know, if it's important to you to have it there, to perhaps shrink the size of those letters might get you a little closer to that 150 that the code is speaking to.
Question about the American Way entrance also. There is no signage there. None of the signage is really visible from there. That may not be necessary. You're kind of at the end of that, and it's probably the destination anyone's heading to if they're coming there anyway. But was there any consideration of needing a small directional sign there?
As far as on the building,
Or at the roadway?
at the intersection. So as Skylar spoke to, our original proposal had a building sign on the south elevation as well to be visible for northbound traffic to make the left onto eventually American Way to access the site. That was the sign that Tire Discounters chose to remove from the building because they felt that these two that remain were very important to them.
What I was thinking is something like we approved for graders at their newer location, for example. I think there's a small sign on East Galbraith. I mean,
Just like a
very
low-
small little
like a
monument
little low-
sign. Yeah, it just says graders. It's probably this big for the wording
And it's
and an arrow.
And it's off-site.
It's still
I'm
on.
not familiar with the.
He's kind
Yeah,
of
it's still-
referencing at the intersection, I
Right.
believe, of American Way and Kenwood Road.
Sure.
So
No.
No, but like back here.
I'm referencing in the cul-de-sac.
Back in this
basically,
corner
the
here.
cul-de-sac.
Yeah, when you get back
It's kind of
here.
obvious where you're going if you're headed there
Yeah.
already by then.
I think if you
probably.
get to that point, you're
Yeah.
headed there intentionally.
Yeah. My other concern is the movable type sign. I recognize we have those in the area and other businesses too. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world either, though. And for the character of the area, which I think we're all hoping to dress up over time, I don't know that it moves in that direction.
Yeah.
Is there any other design that's possible as to that? I'm just kind of
The
curious.
changeable copy, it sounds like you're all aware of tire discounters and their branding and marketing and their culture that Skylar referenced. I think the changeable copy sign would be more sensitive to them than the building signage. They very much, company-wide in the tri-state area, have consistent signage on their changeable copy, and they take great pride. It's very important to them.
I'm curious also, since this involves raising the current buildings there and putting up a new one, what's the transition plan and the timing for that? How long will the business be out of service?
I'm glad you brought that up. The intention, and I can't speak fully to it, maybe Skylar can,
Sure.
is to lease the existing building that's
The Pep Boys.
That's correct.
There's been some staff
And
level
operate out of that
discussions about leasing the Pep Boys on a very short term, 6 to 9 month window. So I was trying to keep that because the township owns the Pep Boys. I was trying to keep that discussion out of the zoning considerations.
Sure.
That any type of leasing agreement or proposal would have to come in front of the board to be approved at a later date.
Yeah.
So, but they would like to maintain a presence during construction.
Sure. Do we know what the construction timetable would be, though? How long it would take to get the whole site changed over?
Generally, from the time we break ground, they like to get their buildings fully operational in 6 months. Is the goal, weather depending.
Tracy, didn't we agree to put allow the businesses to put a sign at the intersection of Kenwood Road and
American Way.
American Way?
Yes, we did. We even ran electric out there.
Yeah.
And
that's what I thought.
the office building, they had agreed to do that. It was just never done. They were going to pay for it,
Okay,
but it was never done.
but we still have electric out there still, right?
We do.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions of the applicant? Okay, is there anybody here that wishes to speak to this issue, the resident, member of the public? Okay. Thank you. Okay, with that, we will close zoning case 2022-01P2. And we will open up the public hearing for zoning case 2022-05P2, Equipment Depot, 8980 Ross Ash.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Again, case number 2022-05P2. Applicant Brian Coswell with Oswald Construction representing Equipment Depot. This is a light industrial development. This is an existing operator within in business within our community. They are seeking some pretty significant changes to their site, essentially to modernize and make this a viable site for them into into the foreseeable future. So just very quickly, the net acreage on this site is 4.88 acres with frontage of 738 feet on Ross Plain Road, 309 on Ross Ash. Ross Ash, of course, is the north-south drive, Ross Plain to the north going east-west. Okay. So the applicant is proposing interior and exterior building improvements, site modifications, which would be an upgrade to the existing facilities, to present a more consistent appearance and function in line with the company's objectives. Let me... So very quickly, I guess I should go with existing zoning first. To the north of this site is the city of Blue Ash, and this would be the Blue Ash South District, which is an industrial type of zone for them. To the south and east is light industrial, and to the west is B residential. I actually should go back to the aerial here. You can see we do actually have some residential properties here with a heavily wooded boundary on Ross Ash here.
And those front to Kenwood, correct?
I'm sorry?
Those front to
Plainfield
Kenwood.
Road.
To
I mean to Plainfield.
yeah,
I mean to
Plainfield.
Plainfield, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to make that jump. I don't. Yeah.
That's a long way away.
Like,
That's
wow.
right.
They
Yes.
sit way back on the private
Yep.
drive across from Larchview.
Yep.
Yep. All right. This plan also shows you the existing site. This is these gray areas are existing buildings. The new proposal is actually to demo these two middle properties or middle buildings, create an addition on the westernmost property, and I keep saying property building, and do exterior facade improvements to make the site more consistent. So as you can see, this is the existing building that would stay in place. There's a dock to the south here. This is the addition area and the existing, what they're calling Building D on this site. Okay. So this is a new proposed site plan that they submitted to us. It only has one addition to it that Zoning Commission didn't see. But essentially, they're looking to open up some area here. They are proposing a gravel lot area. Okay, there's a lot of equipment, heavy equipment on site that would present some maintenance issues, some structural issues for asphalt. So they're proposing a certain area of the site to be gravel. We're not including that as part of the parking area, so it's not inconsistent with our code in that respect. But they will have to work with Hamilton County Engineer's Office for final approval of that gravel area. Okay. The modification here, and I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. One thing that we added to the conditions at Zoning Commission was a prohibition on any antennas or I think we actually said telecommunication towers. I spoke with Mr. Caswell about this after Zoning Commission, and they do in fact plan to have some type of tower on this site in the future. So they're currently showing 3 possible locations for this. 2 of them are in this gravel area, one here to the southern area, one in this northwestern corner. And then they actually have another site up here very close to Ross Plain Road by the eastern edge of this building in that parking lot area. I didn't have a chance to talk about this with Mr. Caswell, but if we do move forward with allowing that telecommunication tower, I would certainly recommend one of these 2 more central locations on the site. Number one, I wouldn't want them to give up parking area for the telecommunications tower, and it's very close to the property lines. And I'd have some setback issues with this first one.
What's the knockout on the building next to the very bottom one? So, yeah, go down. Okay, so you have 3 locations, and the bottom one down here. Yep, that one there. What's the knockout on the building? Is that a knockout on the building, or is that a dumpster location, or what is that?
That's heavy duty asphalt pavement.
Is it got a little asphalt pad there?
Just a little, just on a little pad right there.
Brian Caswell, it's a storage pad is what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But instead of in the ground where it's a concreted area.
Yeah.
I mean, that would, to me, that would be the more logical place to put it. To be honest
Yeah,
with
I
you.
would certainly say back by one of these areas, this one's probably the best. I'm certainly kind of adverse to this location. So we can talk about that with the applicant once we get to that point. Okay.
How many employees?
There we go. I don't have that number. We can talk to the applicant.
Out of this location, it'll be 100 plus.
Okay.
But that's considering a lot of road techs that are in vans out on the road, but they'll be through this branch.
So, where are we at in parking spaces?
So with all the drivers, with all the drivers, we're not counting those, but they provided a parking analysis. The existing site has 89 total parking spaces. The required spaces would be 63 in total, and provided spaces on this site is right at 58.
Is it right at what?
It's at 58.
58?
So they are a little shy.
So if I'm a driver, do I drive my car to this location and pick up the truck full of stuff to deliver and then go deliver?
No, so they're actually.
Excuse me, should we have them approach the microphone for
sorry.
this?
Yeah. Do you want to save that
Yeah,
comment?
I'll save that question for later.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
I thought you may know, so go ahead.
No, that's fine. Okay. So with that being said, the additions to this building, the improvements that they're proposing, do not create any setback issues. The existing buildings do actually encroach into the front yard setback along Ross Plain Road. There's a 40-foot setback from the right-of-way here. You can see that the setback line is actually cutting through 2 existing buildings, so both Building C and Building D, but they are pre-existing.
You know how long that's been there?
They certainly go back quite a
It
while.
predates
Prior
our-
to
predates our
any-
zoning.
Predates our
Yeah.
zoning.
Okay.
Yeah, by far.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so there are some deficiencies in the submittal, and I have spoken with the applicant about this. There was a condition set by zoning commission to submit a landscaping plan and photometric plan to the trustees for review. I think there was some confusion on timing of those submittals. If we are to move forward with an approval tonight, I would simply recommend that a photometric plan be submitted with the zoning compliance plan that's consistent with our zoning resolution. So we would allow for a 0.5 foot candle with property lines. And we would also require a landscaping plan consistent with the streetscaping provisions of our zoning requirement. One thing I do want to mention about that, there is heavy use already along the property lines of both of this southern industrial user as well as the applicant tonight. So we would be asking for a variance to waive landscaping buffers both along the southern property line as well as this eastern property line. And you can see they're actually incorporating a drive for better flow along around this facility and better access for life safety. There was no signage package that was submitted as part of their application. So a condition of approval would also be that any future signage on the site would be consistent with Chapter 13 of the Township zoning resolution. So they would be allowed, 2 signs per building with a maximum of 150 square feet, and they would have the same site allowances for a freestanding sign. All outlined in Chapter 13. Need me to zoom in on that a little bit more?
Yeah, on the far eastern border.
Okay.
My eyes are about to pop
Mine
out
are,
here.
yeah.
I know. So this gray area is actually a new proposed drive.
But it also looks like, are those where,
Those
where
are-
trucks pull
Are
up
those
to
Like bays, like
Mhm.
parking
a bay to be
bays?
loaded?
I think they're parking bays. So, yep. This is actually, so I should mention, so we would be looking for a waiver, or excuse me, a variance rather on this. This is a very heavily wooded property boundary for kind of a drainage area, a drainage way, and it's has a lot of vegetation in it already. So there's really nothing that an additional buffer requirement would be protecting. Okay. Let's see. With that being said, the project is an opportunity to update and modernize an existing business property for a longstanding member of the Sycamore Township business community. Staff is generally favorable to the proposed PUD2, provided the board considers the following conditions. 1, existing lot shall be consolidated prior to zoning compliance plan approval. The applicant's going to talk on this a little bit. It's not to say that that this lot has to be one solid property. What I don't want to see is any buildings sitting astride to two property lines. So that I wanted to clean up the site so that each building is on its own lot, or they can consolidate it all to one site. I just don't want any astride
Gotcha.
buildings. Okay. Site shall not be used for off-site advertising signs in the future. A variance shall be granted for building setback as part of this PUD2 approval. I'm referencing the front yard setbacks on off of Ross Plain Road. 4, all site signage shall comply with Chapter 13 of the Sycamore Township zoning resolution. 5, a photometric plan shall be submitted consistent with the Sycamore Township zoning resolution prior to zoning compliance plan approval. 6, a buffer yard variance shall be granted along the southern and eastern property boundaries. And 7, a landscaping plan shall be submitted for streetscaping consistent with the Sycamore Township zoning resolution prior to zoning compliance plan review as part of the PUD2 approval.
Okay. Any questions for Skylar? Okay. If the applicant would like to come up, give us your name and address for the record, and you can add anything we missed, and we probably have a few questions.
Absolutely. Randy Reese, Equipment Depot. I'm the Regional Vice President for the Ohio region of Equipment Depot. The addresses at hand, 8980 Ross Ash Road and 4331, 4375 Ross Plain Road.
Okay.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. So what's happened is I took over for the region in 2017, and we had been searching for something to fit our need, and my goal was to stay in the community. I'm in the Blue Ash area, and there was proposals to move outside, and we were able to acquire the back property to be able to make this work for us with the large growth and opportunity to upgrade our facilities to something more respectable. You know, the buildings are quite dated. Wim Portman is the landlord,
Okay.
and also who I'm also representing today. And so we're excited about this opportunity. What has come with this is maximizing the property, as you can see, especially to the east, which is parking spots. and things of that nature. So to just address a couple of the questions that probably will be asked, we will have about 100 plus employees. Some of that is in development. We'll have 30 to 40 that will actually be on site. 60 plus will be road mechanics. They actually have their own vans that we provide to them that they drive home at night that are full of tools. They just come to the site. We actually don't even want them to come to the site from efficiency reasons. So, but when they do come to the site, it's to pick up parts or potentially a short discussion. So they are required to be out in the field 80 to 90% of the time, much like our sales reps, which will be about 8 or so sales reps. So we're talking out of that 100 plus, and if we're saying 110 to 115, about 75 will be sales reps and mechanics that should be off site 95+% of the time.
Okay. That very eastern boundary,
Yep.
is that where you would park service vehicles, or?
We actually would be parking our the on-site for that building. So our service manager, parts people, general manager, operations manager, a couple support individuals would park back there to be out of the the drives
Gotcha.
and the traffic.
Okay.
Are you anticipating larger vehicles back there, though? Those look like longer spaces.
We're talking about our cars and
Okay.
just trucks that we would drive. People would drive back and forth to work.
Parking spaces on a diagonal design are typically longer than most square.
So that's there are no bays or anything back there?
No,
Okay.
no, sir.
On the cell tower, I mean, I think for us, this is somewhat of an advantage for us because we certainly don't want those in residential areas, and we think this is probably, if there's gonna be a cell tower out there, this is probably a better place to be putting it. So, I mean, ideally, I'd like to see it as far south as possible in that very last space that you had on the map, because I think it's out of the way. It's closer to the industrial on the south side and not so close to the road. I think that one close to the road is probably a little problematic because not only are you gonna take spaces as well.
Completely understand and respect your comments on that, and I think that's something that absolutely makes total sense to us too.
Anybody else with any questions?
In terms of the tower there, you're anticipating typical cell tower height, I assume, or is there any plan
Correct.
for that at all?
Yeah.
Is it 5G?
Yeah, I hope.
Who knows today?
I know.
I have a
least.
4G phone and a 5G phone, and
Right.
4G works better than
It might
5G.
be 8G if that
Amen.
I don't know.
So typically, those are. I asked the question because typically those are not as tall as the previous versions.
Correct, and I apologize. I do not know the exact height, but my Oswald team can speak to probably some of the more specific questions you have.
How many employees are at the site now?
Right now, we are more, it's in the 60 ballpark, which is, believe it or not, it fluctuates. We need to hire quite a few, and that's a challenge in today's world.
But the 100 is total, not in.
So what we're
not
doing is
addition.
this is a consolidation. So we're actually bringing our team together from the Lebanon area into this market. So that's why there's going to be a growth of jobs and employment for us in this location.
What kind of equipment is this?
Forklifts, aerial equipment, scissor lifts, booms of that
Okay.
nature, non-earth moving, if you will.
So a lot of that is the stuff, are the items that you'll be placing on the gravel?
The
Gravel
gravel
pad?
will be more of the the outdoor booms that
The
you'll see
booms.
on job sites
Yep.
and things. Our forklifts and like scissor lifts mainly will go indoors and some of the
Got it.
storage that
Okay.
we have.
The gray area on the far west and the far east, are those existing areas of parking right now?
No.
No, it's green.
You say in this area?
The one on
Yes.
the west
Oh,
is.
that is. Yes.
That is, okay.
Yes, correct.
Because I don't know offhand, but that would appear I don't know if we have right-of-way drawings on there, but that would appear to be in the right-of-way. Do you know if that is, or is that an offset road? Do we have a right-of-way drawing?
Just looking at the building to the south.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, it's in the right of way. Isn't it? Isn't that little, what that line is the?
I think that dash line is the right of way. So yeah, it looks like those would be encroaching in the right of way.
I think they've been there for a long time now, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I thought there was some expansion to that area. Is it wider than it?
It's actually that specific area is the same.
That is the
Basically,
same?
It's just
Okay.
an overlay for new asphalt over top of what it is. But that layout is
Gotcha.
consistent with what it currently is.
A lot of this
Okay.
is cleaning up what's existing today.
And then on the east end, the north, is that an existing curb cut up there, right there?
Sorry, Brian with Osmore. There is a curb cut there, but it opens into grass area.
Yeah.
There is kind of like an old gravel drive at one point parcel, but
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate
Is
it.
there anybody here that, a resident or anybody else in the public that wishes to speak to this issue? Okay. We will close the public hearing for 2022-05P2, and we will take this up at our regularly scheduled meeting at 7. So our public hearings are closed. We are now going to open up our special CIC meeting. You're going to take notes on this, Tracy, correct?
I am.
Okay. Please note that all 3 trustees are present. The item on the agenda is acceptance of a piece of property that we own into the CIC at 11745 Solzman Road. You want to give us a little update, Tracy?
So this is, so basically what we're looking for tonight is to authorize acceptance of parcel 600-013-0029-90 from the Board of Trustees of Sycamore Township. Passed a resolution to transfer that. We basically need the CIC to authorize acceptance of that and possibly authorize the executive director to negotiate with the buyer. We do have a contract that's put together, but obviously nothing's signed yet. So the reason for the meeting is just to accept that so that we can move forward with the transfer of property.
Okay. So we need to do that by
We can do
motion.
that by motion.
Okay.
I move we accept into the CIC the transfer of the property located at 11745 Solzman Road.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter, would you like to roll? I didn't see you come in. Well,
I stuck.
Stealthy. He's stealthy.
do you want to do the roll for us?
Sure. Who all is on the CIC?
You and the 3 trustees.
Okay. Mr. James,
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye also.
Okay.
Yeah, but does he have a vote?
Mr. Kellums.
Aye.
Just in case.
Okay. We will also need a motion to direct our executive director to negotiate with the buyer for the sale of this property. So do we have a motion?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, I'll make a motion to commence with negotiating the sale of the property located at 11745 Solzman Road.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. Kellums,
Aye.
Mr. James,
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
and I'll also vote aye.
This is a purchase and sale agreement I prepared just for your review. so you can take a look at it before we negotiate.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
So is that what you were passing these up to look at?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Tracy's name is Ms.
Any other business for the CIC? If not, we will take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Okay.
We will start our regular scheduled meeting in 5 minutes. 5-minute break. Ready? Ready? Okay, we are going to call our meeting to order. If everybody would please rise for our invocation this evening, read by Mr. Miller.
Heavenly Father, we praise you and give you thanks for the many blessings you have given us and the people of Sycamore Township. As we begin this meeting, we ask that you send us your Holy Spirit to enlighten and guide us as we discuss the business at hand. Help us follow the example of our Lord, Jesus Christ, as we make our decisions. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
If everybody would please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. If Mr. Porter would note that all three trustees are present. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the March 15th special and regular meeting. We'll do the special first. We have a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from the March 15th, 2022 special meeting.
Second?
Motion second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Next item is the regular trustee meeting. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes from the regular March 15th, 2022 trustee meeting.
A second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Next item is the March 16th, 2022 special trustees meeting. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes from the March 16th, 2022 special meeting.
Second?
Motion second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. And the final one is the March 25th special trustees meeting. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes from the March 25th, 2022 special meeting.
A second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Okay, the next item we have, did you sign the proclamation?
It's right in front of you.
What is? Got it. The next item we have on the agenda is a proclamation designating April 15, 2022 as Jenny Marble Day in Sycamore Township. Whereas Jenny Marble was born on April 15, 1922 in Columbia, South Carolina, and now is a resident of Carriage Court of Kenwood in Sycamore Township. And whereas Miss Marble is a member of the greatest generation who will join the celebrated ranks of the centenarians on April 15, 2022. And whereas Miss Marble worked for over 30 years as a power machine operator for Crown Overall Company in Cincinnati and is an accomplished seamstress who used her talents to make curtains, clothing, and coats. And whereas Miss Marble's hobbies also include gardening, outdoor activities, and exercise. And whereas she continues to stay fit by walking and can still do a high kick. And whereas Sycamore Township celebrates the life and enthusiasm of Jenny Marble. And whereas the board further wishes to recognize and honor Miss Marble and congratulate her on the occasion of her 100th birthday. Now therefore, the Board of Trustees of Sycamore Township hereby proclaim April 15, 2022 as Jenny Marble Day in Sycamore Township. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve the resolution, or the proclamation.
I second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Passed unanimously this 5th day of April, 2022. Congratulations to Miss Marble.
Yes.
That's awesome. Anybody here representing her? Well, we send our best to her.
We will, and there will be a 100th birthday party for her, and Ms. Schwegman is going to attend that.
That's
to
great.
Oh, great.
Present the
I will
proclamation.
do so.
Awesome.
Looking
Which
forward
is
to it.
also her birthday.
I'm not 100. I'm not 100 though. Ms. Marble has a few years on me, so I can only be so lucky as to
Such a
meet
great
Ms.
birthday
Marble's
opportunity. That's
achievement.
awesome.
So,
That's
I think you
great.
both need to do a high kick.
no, because I'll lose. I will lose.
All righty. Next item on the agenda, public comments. Skylar, do we have any?
We do not have any for this meeting.
Okay. Planning and zoning report.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, first item is the resolution for case number 2022-01P2. This is tire discounter. And I'm going to bring up, so as kind of our practice with these, because I don't know the board's final conditions on this. I'm kind of doing these on the fly, and I can have these printed out at our next break, and we can sign them once we're agreeable to the language. So this resolution here is proposing an approval of excuse me, of PUD2 for Leesman Engineering in Sycamore Township and dispensing with a second reading. I do need to note that any conditions are incorporated into this approval. In section 1, the conditions would be attached as Exhibit A. And just to get the conversation started, I've incorporated the staff recommended conditions.
Okay. Why don't we take a motion in a second, and then we can discuss this, and if there are changes, we can modify. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve case 2022-01P2.
Okay, motion, you have a second?
I'm happy to second. I'm certainly amenable to that. I think there's some conditions on that I
Yeah,
would
sure.
like to discuss.
So
but-
we have a motion and a second. There's discussion, so do you want to?
Like I said, I during the public hearing, I am certainly amenable to the staff conditions as noted here in Exhibit A. I do think that we need to revisit the variance request as it relates to the building signage. I am fine with the monument signage. I'm fine with that variance, but I would like to revisit the variance request as it relates to the building signage. I would like to see us closer to our zoning code for, I think it was 150 square feet.
150 square feet is the maximum total area for a total of 2 signs.
And the front sign is 128, correct?
128 and change, yes, sir.
Yep.
I think it's 128.2.
I don't know how specific we need to be in this particular resolution, or if it's something that you would
We
send
need
back
to
to.
be very
We need to be
specific.
specific,
So the board needs to set a total maximum area.
Okay.
So if you're allowing if you're allowing as is, that would be a maximum area of 257.34 square feet. If you want to do a reduction from that, we need to specify that.
Now, you say as is, you mean as proposed?
As proposed, yes. Thanks, sir.
So those are 4-foot letters, correct?
4-foot letters, just over 32 feet in length.
I mean,
I agree. I don't think we need to grant a 257 square foot variance here. That's way too much beyond what we allow, and everyone else is going to be coming asking for that also.
do we know what kind of square footage we would have at 3-foot letters?
I wouldn't know how to scale the length of that.
I wonder,
It would be, I could do an area calculation of 3 by 32, but if you reduce the height,
Right.
it's gonna reduce those. If you're looking for 3-foot letters, then set the maximum to a not to exceed limit.
which
And
would
they
be,
can
what's that,
modify from there.
90, which would be 180? Would that be right, roughly?
Well, let me get my
3 by
roughly
30.
2 foot wide, how many letters are
What's that?
there?
3 times 32. Is that what we're looking at?
Tire discounters. No.
My suggestion would be we pick a maximum square footage number divided between the 2 signs they'd like to place on the front and the side, and let them choose as to the dimensions they want.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing says that the signs have to be the same size.
Right.
That
Right.
they may scale those.
I figured 3 foot for each would be a good idea, to give us an idea what the set a max at.
So are you setting just a total area based
Total
on
area, that we don't, I mean,
Are you setting a height maximum as well? Because you keep saying 3 feet, but You're still allowing
scale,
for the
that's gonna
full
shrink it.
32 feet.
Well, you're 32 wide already, right?
You're 32 foot already.
So
right.
by going from a 4 foot to a 3 foot letter, aren't you going to move this way a little bit?
But
You
got
are,
capital
but I
letters
don't.
and-
I don't know how to scale that on the fly.
Okay.
We have to look at that. So if you
Can you go back to the
grant
logo?
an area,
Pick a total
Yeah, I
square
pulled it
foot, and they scale it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the capital T and D are larger, aren't they, on here too? So then if we're
mean,
talking height, we're getting.
Current code is a combined 150.
Yeah,
That is current code, and it doesn't matter how they divide it up. They don't have to be two equal size signs. It could
Correct.
be, 125 and 25 if that's
Yeah.
what they wanted to do. So 257 is too much, and 157 is what's currently allowable.
150.
150.
I'm sorry, 150 is what's currently allowable under our zoning code.
I would be amenable to 180, which would give them an opportunity to get close to 3 foot on both. And if they choose to go 4 and 2 or 4, 2.5, it's good for me as well.
I'd be okay with that, and they're
I would-
replacing signs from two sites now and combining it into one anyway, so.
I would be amenable to that. I mean, I think that's a reasonable variance request, I think. And I would be amenable to that number.
So
I would move to amend my motion to place a limit on the total square footage of the signage on the building to no more than 180 square foot, divided at the applicant's discretion as between the front-facing sign and the side-facing sign.
Let's see.
you second that?
I second that.
Okay.
I'm just waiting. Skylar was typing. I didn't want to interrupt his.
Nope, that's fine. You can keep going.
But yes, I second
I'm used
that.
to it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other issues with these conditions?
Oh, yeah.
Variance should be granted.
Okay. Anybody else
Our
have-
law director had suggested modifying off-site advertising signs to say
build
billboard. Is that
billboards, yeah.
something you feel we
Yeah.
need to
I think
do?
that's a good idea.
Okay.
And I would further move to amend the condition in Exhibit A in item 3 to say billboard signs rather than off-site advertising.
Okay. Variance should be granted for. Item 7, a variance shall be granted for building sign area at a maximum area of 180 square feet.
Okay.
Does that accomplish the direction?
I believe it does.
Okay.
Okay.
Although I don't think it needs to be a condition on here, I think we did bring up some other signage opportunities for the applicant. Do we want to revisit that discussion of signage at American Way?
Well, that American Way signage is
I
going to
don't
be.
think it's part,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think it's part of this.
It's
It
not
wouldn't be
part of
part of, it wouldn't be
No,
part of
I don't
this,
think-
but that's an opportunity for a future discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's already been approved by the board, I believe, and we agreed to allow that to go into our right-of-way, but we weren't paying for it. We ran electric to that spot, and that's as far as we were going to go.
Okay.
So it's really kind of up to the businesses to get together and say, we're going to put this
Yeah,
sign
I'll
out
have
here.
to check back on that, because I know we ran conduit to that. Off the top of my head, I don't remember where it came from.
Okay. All right.
It's
so-
probably empty conduit. We wouldn't
Graders.
run
No, there's
electric out there.
Right.
for it. Yeah.
It came from somewhere.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Actually, my last motion to amend wasn't seconded, but let me withdraw that and just say I move to amend the approval to include all of the conditions now listed in the Exhibit A prepared by Mr. Miller.
Okay.
I will second that.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Okay, next item is case 2022-05P2, Equipment Depot, 8980 Ross Ash. Do you have a resolution?
Yes, sir. Okay. This is a resolution approving a PUD for Brian T. Caswell in Sycamore Township and dispensing with second reading. Specifically, this is for the Equipment Depot site, at 8980 Ross Ash Road. In similar vein to the last one, the Exhibit A is incorporated into Section 1 of this approval. And as a starting point, I have the staff comments. One thing I would suggest, I was working, let me pull up my other plan here. Since we were talking about site selection for the telecommunication tower, I would I would add item 8. If a future telecommunication tower be erected, it shall be placed in the southernmost location as applicant proposed on site plan.
Okay, perfect. That will be number 8. Okay, do we have a motion?
I move we approve zoning case 2022-05P2 as embodied in the resolution Mr. Miller is preparing with the conditions in the exhibit, including the item 8 he is adding, and a change to item 2 to reflect billboards rather than off-site advertising signs.
Thank you for that, sir.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion?
I do. I failed to mention when this applicant was during the public hearing, we are thrilled that another business is choosing to stay in Sycamore Township and grow and expand. So thank you both to tire discounters and our folks here with their resolution to stay in Sycamore Township and grow their business. So welcome and thank you.
Okay, motion is second. No further discussion. Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. We have the Special Energy Improvement Project, PACE.
Yes, sir. Bringing that up just now. Okay. Actually, I'm going to kick this off by introducing Chris Jones from Vernacular, and he is going to give us a brief overview of the PACE project that's happening at the gallery the Gallery of Kenwood. So this is the proposed hotel pad. So Chris,
Very good. How you doing? Good evening. Yep. So,
Can you give us your name and address just for the record?
yes, Chris Jones with Ohio Pace, and we are at 201 East 5th Street, Suite 1110, downtown Cincinnati. Yeah, very good. And so this is with regards to the PACE financing for the project that Skylar stated. Just kind of for the record, I believe this is our 5th PACE financing in the township. Way back in 2017 was the first one with Kids First,
Right.
and then we've had the 3 or 4 others since then. This particular project, as I think you're all aware of, is a new construction hotel there in the complex, and I have actually Mike Borgman with the Corporex companies who can kind of provide a little bit more detail if you need it with regards to the specific project. But just as a reminder, the way that the PACE financing comes in, it's essentially a layer in the capital stack that helps the developer, and then the repayment is via special assessments that are for just that parcel of land and repaid solely by the property owner. As a reminder, there's no obligation of the township should there be a worst case foreclosure scenario. These are solely paid by the property owner, so township's not obligated for those funds. As far as the project cost is this one is $4.7 million, and the earmark PACE eligible item is we've gone with the building envelope on this one. So the building shell, it does have to be above energy code, which they have done, and then that allows the entire building envelope cost to be PACE eligible. Other types of things that could have been PACE eligible had they needed the PACE funds would have been like the heating and cooling systems and LED lighting, building automation controls, so on, so forth. But kind of in a nutshell, that is the project. And Mike, if you'd like to kind of provide some background on it as well.
Yeah. So my name is Mike Borgman. I'm with Corporex. Handle mainly the financing side of it. But no, I guess we're very appreciative of how Sycamore Township has worked with us, especially Chris. He's been very helpful, and we're very excited to finally get this project moving. But yeah, if you guys have any questions of me, just let me know.
We're excited too.
Awesome.
The suburban communities, ESID did meet and review this application last month, and there was unanimous approval and recommendation for approval.
Okay.
And then the last thing I would just add is the PACE lender is one of the more prevalent lenders, not only in the country, but had funded, I believe, actually all the other projects that we've done in the township. So anyway, just wanted to kind of throw that one in there.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
So as part of this, there's going to be 3 resolutions that I'll read off to you, all in order to make this financing mechanism happen. So unless there's any questions, I'll read the first one. A resolution approving the petition for special assessments for special energy improvement projects under Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 1710, and approving the necessity of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the Township of Sycamore, Hamilton County, Ohio, in cooperation with the Suburban Communities Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency.
I move that we approve the resolution as presented.
Second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Okay, next. A resolution determining to proceed with the acquisition, construction, and improvement of certain public improvements in the Township of Sycamore, Hamilton County, Ohio, in cooperation with the Suburban Communities Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency.
I move that we approve the resolution as presented.
Second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Okay, and lastly, a resolution levying special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements in the Township of Sycamore, Hamilton County, Ohio, in cooperation with the Suburban Communities Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency.
I move we approve the resolution as presented.
A second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwegman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
All right, and so in the other room at the check signing table, there's a stack of PACE documents that will also need to be signed tonight.
Okay.
So, and we'll digitize those and get copies out.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Okay, next item up is Sheriff Patrol Report. We have Sergeant Sullivan with us tonight.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I have a lot to report tonight. You may have heard the Sheriff's Office investigated 2 shootings this past week. One occurred on Elizabeth Place. Officers were dispatched for the report of a man with a gun. While en route, they got a report of a shot fired. When they arrived on scene, there was no one present. However, evidence at the scene indicated that there were some rounds in the street, and also one of the houses on Elizabeth had been struck by gunfire. During the search for potential victims, evidence of drug trafficking was discovered. The Reno investigators were brought in, and charges were filed on one of the occupants of Elizabeth Place for numerous things involved with that gunfire. Eventually, the 2 victims were located and are facing charges of their own for something separate. The second one occurred at the BP station, Kenwood, Montgomery, which appeared to be a domestic situation that found itself at the BP station. One subject was struck by gunfire. Non-life-threatening injuries were reported there, and an arrest was made with a cooperative witness or cooperative suspect. The last thing I'd like to pass along was for the people who live in Sycamore, both north and south. There's been a series of mailbox thefts from the blue boxes located actually at the post office, and numerous checks have been reported to be cashed after being altered. So if you're in the habit of dropping mail at the blue box at the post office, I would suggest maybe going inside. I know that the Columbus Police has made an arrest recently. I think 6 people were arrested in a similar ring. Basically, somebody's got a hold of a key, and they're basically opening up the blue boxes outside. And
Is that a universal key, I trust?
of course, everyone in the country, apparently. Apparently so.
All right.
If you find yourself a victim of that, the Sheriff's Office is taking reports. The postmaster apparently, or the postal inspector, is not investigating anything until a local police report has been made.
Okay.
And that's what I have for
read
this
about
evening.
that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter which post office.
No, they have actually, I've seen reports from both the Silverton branch and the Sims Township branch, so both offices in the
Oh, really?
local area have been hit.
Alrighty. That it?
That's it.
Any questions?
I have one. I don't
Yes,
know
sir.
if it's for you, Sergeant Sovereign, or for the chief, or for Mr. Miller, or to discuss offline, but where are we with the new operation in the Dillonville Shopping Center that has caused a lot of controversy and may involve gambling?
That has been referred to the investigators of the Regional Narcotic Unit, our anti-vice section, and to the prosecutor's office to determine whether or not there's been any criminal activity going on.
Well, they did file a lawsuit today.
Oh, they did?
And while I've been sitting here, I saw it on my phone, they sent it to me at 5:03. They sued the sheriff's department, they sued Hamilton County prosecutor, and they sued Sycamore Township. Sycamore Township revoked their zoning certificate. So there was a lawsuit that's been.
All right, we'll discuss that later, I have a feeling.
So, independent of any law enforcement action, the township did review their certificate. We met with the applicant last month, and on March 25th, the decision was made to revoke that. After proper notice. So they were notified. They have not operated every night, but we have seen them in operation since they've had their certificate revoked, and we're considering what appropriate action to take next.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? EMS and Fire, Chief?
Good evening. Mr. Collins has a PO just for your consideration. I just give you little information on it. We're just replacing the mattresses at the fire station. They're about 15 plus years old, so they're time to get those replaced. The only other thing I have is last Wednesday night we had a busy day in the township. We had 23 runs in the 24-hour period. That was the day the windstorms came through. We had a couple of minor fires out of that, just from wires hitting the ground and catching articles on fire. And then the rest of it was blown transformers and wires down and so on, alarm drops, things that comes with wind, besides the normal 14, 15 runs we had for the day. So it was a busy day for the crew. That's all I have.
That it? Any questions? Okay. Roads and Maintenance and Recreation Report, Mr. Kellums.
Spring is here, so the parks are getting extremely busy. All the fields are filling up with reservations. We have our first trash bash this weekend, one of our residents' favorite services. So the guys will be out at McDaniel Park, and that'll be quite busy. Larchview project continues to roll on. The Larchview Plainfield project, they are looking to complete storm sewer work in next week or so, and if we still have some utility work that has to be done to get Duke and Bell out to move a couple poles, but they're going to start with the actual reconstruction of the road in a matter of weeks.
Great, that's awesome.
That continues to move forward. We had a pre-construction meeting today for 2022 road program, which is the area over in Kenwood Meadows, everything south of Miami Hills Drive. That will be starting the third week of May. That is Prue's Construction, and Jurgensen is doing the blacktop work there, so we're happy with that team.
Did you say that was Bruce?
That is Prue's, that's correct.
Third week in May?
The third week in May. As far as maintenance goes, that's all I have. Unless somebody has a question.
We do that.
We did.
Not this time.
Did we, do we have the shredding?
We do.
When is that?
So that's
Is it the following weekend, I think?
It's,
Isn't it in between the weekend
Oh,
in
here it is.
between the
It's
two
the
trash bashes?
It's the 16th.
it's the 16th,
Okay,
the
yeah,
day after tax day.
okay, perfect.
And is
And that is here.
Sorry. Sorry.
Don't make fun of that day. It's a good day.
Shred all your documents. And that is here.
Okay,
Yes.
back behind the building?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? Anything on recreation?
No,
Okay.
just the extreme,
Okay. Law director
everything's
report?
filling up.
Good. Law director report. Anything, Larry?
Other than the lawsuit I referred to, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Administrator report. Mutual of Omaha 457B plan.
Yes, so the first thing I have is, we were contacted by our representatives from Equitable Advisors, who were the ones that have our
457.
our 457 plan, which is AXA. And they are suggesting that we change from Equitable to Mutual of Omaha. We will still have the same representatives. They've done this a couple other places, mainly because the employees will have a large reduction in their fees. They offer a 457 and an after-tax Roth also. They offer a more robust online platform. It'll take a couple months to make the change. They'll help anybody map out any investments, change over if they want to make change, if they want to stay in the same kind of risk category that they're in now. If people don't want to change, they don't have to. But if we make them move to change, they won't be able to add to what they're in now if they don't make the change.
Gotcha.
But
Are we going to get paperwork on that, by the way? Because I'm sure we get some kind of
yes, and
signatures
they will be
required.
contacting everybody that's in it
Okay.
to go over it with them personally.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would need a motion to change from Equitable to Mutual of Omaha if the board so desires.
I moved we change from Equitable to Mutual of Omaha for the 457B plan.
I second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? I did talk to somebody at AXA, and they told me that that those fees would be reduced from what we're paying now, which is good.
Yes.
And like you said, it offers a more robust plan, so I think it'd be good.
I think it offers that Roth program that we had talked about as well that was not
I think it does.
available.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Okay, also I've been working with Lieutenant Tar on replacing 3 sheriff vehicles this year. These are ones that are in the budget. That was part of our capital budget that we had put together last year and the year before for 3 sheriff vehicles this year. Those are all about 120,000 miles or so on them. One's a 2013, one's a 2014, one's a 2017. These will be, these are TIF eligible, and we're looking at probably about $40,000 each, all in, when everything's said and done.
When they're outfitted with everything.
When they're outfitted with everything.
I hope one of them is the Dodge that we're retiring.
It is. It's the last Dodge that we
Thank you.
have.
So we're looking at 120,000 total.
That was our
on
experiment.
each.
Didn't go well.
Total.
I like
I said each at first. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You have a
we'll-
resolution?
Hmm?
You have a resolution?
I do not have a resolution for that yet. We don't have all the final numbers. We'll be working on that and bring that to you. Just want to let you know that that was in the works.
Okay.
And we'll be bringing that to you
Is
at a
that,
future meeting.
is that 40,000 state bid? What's state bid on the vehicle itself? Do you know?
I believe that, I can't say that. I
Okay.
don't know if that's
Okay.
state bid or not. I mean, that's the way we always go.
They usually been topping state bid.
Yeah,
Have they?
they've been bettering the
Maybe not,
state bid in the
maybe not
past.
today.
Right.
Well, who knows?
I can't get one for a full price. Okay. So we do not have a resolution there.
We do not.
Okay.
That'll be in a future meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I don't know if the email went out today, but we are looking to put a JEDD meeting together for April 19th. I wanted to let everybody know that beforehand.
What time are you looking at then?
I think we were talking about 4 o'clock. Does that work for everybody? Does that work for you?
I'd have to look, but let's just say yes.
I can make it work. Do we need to do it that early? On the other hand, do we have anything else before our meeting that night?
I think we were trying to bring in the remaining portion of the board as well during business hours.
Yeah. We have two other board members that have to come in, and I believe we may have something for planning and zoning that night too, don't we?
Actually, that's been punted. There was a scheduling conflict with the applicant. There was actually a third applicant that was seen the same night as our two other zoning cases. They were not available for this meeting, so we moved them to the next trustee meeting, and now I was informed today that that's not going to work either.
Okay.
So
I'm happy to try to do it at 5 if we can get the other two to make that schedule. Can you check on that and then
Absolutely.
let us know?
That's not the MSD meeting, because that's punted the following week.
That's the, yes.
Yes, or May.
What if they could do it as late as 6? Would that work for you, if assuming they were able
I think we have, do we have zoning that, some
we
zoning?
won't have zoning.
We have no zoning?
We have no zoning
Oh, good, okay.
on the 19th.
Once
So
you
I'll
see,
see 5 or 6.
see what they can make,
Yeah.
and then let us know.
All right. Okay, next I have a resolution. This is a resolution authorizing a contract for the Kenwood Road and Montgomery Road traffic impact study and dispensing with the second reading.
I move we approve the resolution as presented.
A second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Tracy, you want me to do this one, or you?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, this is a resolution to dispose of some obsolete network switches that we have. The Rocket Links were the first switches that we had out in the field and in the cabinets for the cameras. Those were not remotely manageable. We had a lot of issues with them where staff were having to go out and reset those manually. With the COVID money and everything else, we were able to upgrade our network. We now have managed switches that are fully monitored all the time and can be reset remotely. So we're actually hoping to resell these. It's a modest amount, but $30 to $50 these seem to be selling for.
That's all they sell new currently for $1,240
Yeah.
each.
Yep. So I can tell you these are not reliable in the use that we have them for. They're out. They're not in the elements. They are in a cabinet, but they are remote, and these are an absolute pain to deal with. This is not a type of. We went with a totally different product, for our managed switches. So,
If it is possible to make an extra effort to try to maximize these, potentially there's a lot of value there for someone.
yeah.
You know.
So I will be working with Chief. We'll try
We'll
gov
put
deals.
these on
We'll
the
try.
auction site.
Yeah, we'll try to maximize some profit on these. We won't just dispose of them. Okay, with that being said, I have a resolution declaring township property as surplus and obsolete and authorizing its disposition, dispensing with a second reading and declaring an emergency.
I move that we adopt the resolution as presented.
A second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. James, if you find a site with higher numbers, please let me know. We'll target that.
I'll let you know. I know CDW had them new for that and a few
Yeah.
other sites online. So, yeah.
You are gonna auction them off, though?
We would
You're
like
gonna
to
put them up for
we would
auction?
like to auction them.
Because if you were just gonna dispose of them, you should put in the resolution that they're worth less than $3,000, but
So the value that we saw online was between $30 and $50 each. So you're looking at $780 to $1,300.
but if you're, if you're gonna auction them off anyway, you don't need to put that in there, just.
And there were apparently lesser models on eBay in the $300 to $400 range when I checked too. So
Well,
maybe we'll get more, maybe not.
We'll try. Yeah, we'll make every effort.
Try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to recoup on this.
I could buy one of those patrol cars.
That would be nice.
The Dodge.
Purchase orders over 5,000. Mr. Kellers.
Okay, so we have several purchase orders tonight. First PO is 22-206, Working Fire Furniture and Mattress Company. That's the mattresses for the North Station. That's the one Chief was talking to you about. This is coming out of TIF. 22-207, Sycamore Board of Education, $93,425.16. That's our TIF school payment. 22-208, Deer Park Community City Schools, $255,795.23. TIF school payment. 22-209, Princeton City Schools, $256,521.77. Also a TIF school payment. 22-210, Indian Hill Exempted Village, $3,224,342.35. TIF school payment. 22-111, Great Oaks Career Campuses, $187,018.29. A TIF school payment. 22-110-2, this is for a blanket vendor. This is fire department for tuition reimbursements in the amount of $10,000. This is a budgeted item. 22-165-4, Likens Energy Solutions for $5,778.47 for fuel, and this is for the sheriffs. This is also a budgeted item.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the purchase orders as listed by Mr. Kellums.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
If I may, Tracy, I had suggested, since we have to do the Tax Incentive Review Council meeting again, we tell the school board members the checks are here ready and waiting for them at that next meeting. Since we're about to issue all these checks, maybe we should have a meeting soon.
Just want to hold on to them.
They might show up then.
Okay, fiscal officer report.
Yes, we have cash receipts of $12,201,358.93. We have checks in the amount of $4,468,126.65. The tax money came in, obviously, and then the school money's going out. Complete listing of the receipts and disbursements is available in the packet.
We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye. Next item is trustee comments. Before I go to trustee comments, you have any other comments, Rob?
I don't.
Okay. Trustee comments. Do we have any comments for this evening?
It's a month of birthdays. We're obviously celebrating Miss Marble's birthday on the 15th, but I also had the opportunity, I guess it was last week, to spend some time at 700 WLW, who is also celebrating a 100th birthday. And they are a township business, so we are thrilled that they are in the township. And I think for those that received their township newsletter, Mount Carmel Baptist Church is celebrating their 200th birthday. So they put WLW and Miss Marble to shame. So they've been around longer than all of us. So it was a pleasure to celebrate those birthdays here in the township.
Great. Any comments?
Spring is here. Happy spring. And we have a scout here in the audience. So welcome to our meeting. We're glad to have hosted you. I hope we haven't bored you. Thank you.
Want to give us your name?
Samuel.
Samuel, welcome.
All Saints, right?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Okay. I don't have any other comments other than the Trash Bash is always very popular in Sycamore Township, and for those people who live in the north, for sure, it's going to be very convenient. So that's coming up, and shredding is also great, a great service as well. We work the entire day. We fill those trucks with shredded stuff. So.
Should we just take one to your house?
Announcement changes. Yoga in the park postponed to May. I assume that's because of weather. Is that correct, Tracy?
I do not know why that's postponed.
Okay. Let's just go ahead and assume
We'll
that.
say it's weather. Yeah.
We do have executive sessions. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn into executive session with the Township Law Director as permitted by Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 to consider the appointment, employment, and compensation of a public employee, and as permitted by Ohio Revised Code 121.22G2 to discuss the sale of property, and as permitted by Ohio Revised Code 121.22G3 to discuss pending litigation. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye. Okay, we
Mr.
are in
Weidman, who would
executive.
you like in that executive session?
I would like Tracy, Larry, Tom, Tracy, Rob, and Skylar. I think that's all we need. We're back from executive session at 9:47, 8:47, excuse me. Mr. Porter, roll call.
Mr. James? I'm here. Ms. Schwagman?
Present.
Mr. Weaver?
Present. If there is no other business, we will take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn. I move we adjourn. Sorry.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Porter?
Mr. James?
Aye.
Ms. Schwagman?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye. We are adjourned.
All right.